everyone and welcome to another comic book video. My name is Michael and today we're actually going to be finishing up our look at the history of comic books. And today I'm going to look at some of the other different companies that have been producing comics in the modern era. As you know, the last 2 weeks we looked at DC and then Marvel, but this week we're going to look at some of the other different companies. And to start off with, I do want to mention that there's a major company that's one of these other ones I do not own anything of, and that's Image. And of course, Image was started in the early 90s by Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, stuff like that. After they left Marvel, they started their own company. I don't have anything from Image. I mostly just collect stuff from Marvel and DC. This is just some other stuff that's ended up in my collection over the years that I just showcased today. The first issue I actually have is Jurassic Park #1. From 1993. This was put out by Topps around when the first movie was coming out. Topps, of course, is mostly well known for doing baseball cards, stuff like that, but for a brief time in the 90s they got into the comic book business. Didn't last very long, only ran from about 93 to about 98. But this is one of the titles they produced. They got the licensing rights to Jurassic Park, and so they did a comic book series based on it. This is the first issue. This is also a variant cover as well. Next up, I think, is actually coming that kind of showcases some of the more interesting characters and oddities that were coming out during the speculators market. This is Zen Intergalactic Ninja #1. Now, this isn't his first appearance. He had a couple other mini-series beforehand, but this is a new series based on the character. This came out in 1994. It was put out by Entity Comics. And he was also one of those small comic book companies that came about during the speculators market in the late 80s, early 90s. The company started about 93 and ran about 97, 98 when the comic book market went bust. But this is just one of the comics that I have in my collection, just kind of showcasing some of the artwork and design and stuff that really exemplify the early 90s there. And another thing too, this comic is actually signed by one of the original creators as well of the character. Next up I have is Sigil by CrossGen. CrossGen is an interesting company. It started about, let me see if I get the right date here, about 1998. And CrossGen was a company that their primary purpose and stuff was when they were going to do other things other than superheroes. So a lot of their titles were more like fantasy, science fiction. They have a mystery title. They had a couple like horror titles and stuff. So it was looking at a lot of the different genres other than superheroes. And all these titles actually took place in the same universe type thing, on different worlds and stuff. And you had different characters in these worlds who all had sigils, so they were all kind of connected in a way. It was actually a fairly popular company. People really liked the stories and stuff. Unfortunately, the company suffered from some financial issues, and eventually in around 2004, the company actually declared bankruptcy while they were in the middle of an event. They were forced to declare bankruptcy. Now, Disney actually went ahead and bought the licensing rights and stuff to all the characters when the company went bankrupt. And then, of course, when Disney bought Marvel, they gave the characters over to Marvel, and Marvel tried in 2011 to do a brief revival of the characters. Unfortunately, the revival was not successful, so after only doing a couple mini-series, they canceled their CrossGen line, and nothing's been done since. So maybe sometime in the future, they'll try another revival, but as for right now, nothing's going on with CrossGen. This is actually a variant copy. This is a customer review copy of this first issue. And I should mention to CrossGen, if you want some interesting stories to read, some great stuff to read, I recommend reading some of these titles. There's some great artwork, there's some great writing, and also too, a lot of these titles are very cheap to find. Usually you can buy several titles for like only like each issue only like for $1 or $2 or a couple bucks. So, but they did some great stories. Next I have is, of course, if you ever saw my first video, you know I'm a Star Wars fan. This is one of the Star Wars put out by Dark Horse. This is Knights of the Old Republic 42, and this is actually a key issue. This is the first full appearance of Darth Revan. Of course, he's not a Darth in this point in time, he's just going by the name of Revan. But this is kind of his origin and first full appearance. So this is a nice little key issue to have. And the final issue I brought today is actually been put out by Boom. This is Stan Lee's Soldier Zero #1. A few years back, Boom tried to launch their own superhero line, and they teamed up with Stan Lee, where Stan Lee kind of lent his name and helped promote these titles and stuff. They did 3 different titles. This is one of them. Unfortunately, the line was not very successful, and after about a year or 2, they ended up canceling all 3 titles. And for the most part, Stan Lee wasn't really doing a lot of the writing or anything. He was mostly lending his name or helping do letting his name help with some of the promotion and stuff. But for the most part, it was mostly being written by somebody else. But this is just issue 1 of this series. So these are all I brought today. Some of the different comic book companies that came about during like the modern era, and showcasing some of the different things there. I'll be back next week, and we're going to be moving on to a different series of videos talking more about collecting and the different aspects of collecting and different things you can collect within comic books. I'm also planning on possibly either next week or the week after doing a video talking about comic book mystery boxes, and I may have a mystery box here as well, just to show and talk about all about mystery boxes, what to look for, some advice on purchasing mystery boxes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, just go ahead and give it a like, and I'll see you next time. Bye.